been charged to avail themselves of opportunities to make themselves relevant in politics in order to bridge the gender parity gap in the country. Honorable Nkiruka Onyeji-Ocha, one of the contenders for the position of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, gave this charge at a strategic meeting on women participation in governance and politics held in Abuja. Our correspondent Moyo Thomas reports.
The dwindling women participation in politics and governance, especially in the last general election in Nigeria, has continued to raise concerns. These concerns are the focus of the strategic meeting on ways to increase women's effective participation in the electoral process and fulfill the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal of gender equality. Legislation is identified as urgently needed to ensure gender parity.
Only thing is legislation. Certain number of seats must be reserved for the women because women are a critical item on any agenda of development.
Luckily, we passed an amendment to our rules, which means that you do not have to go through it all over again. And all that they will now just do is to bring up all these gender bills and we can give them very quick passage. And so we need specific legislation with regard to participation.
Advocates of women's participation in governance says this will strengthen the nation's economy and ensure stability and security.
A law on its own or even a paragraph in the Constitution, as you can see, doesn't do the trick. You really need the implementation, and for that, women and men have to voice it and fight for it on a regular basis.
If you go to Rwanda and see the nature of the streets, how clean, those little things that we think don't matter, they do matter. There is security. There is adequate health care. So you see that development naturally is evolving in Rwanda. And our major problem in Nigeria is because we have refused to involve women in governance.
The gender gap of women in politics in Nigeria is definitely widening. 20 years on in democracy, less than 10% of women are in elective positions or in the decision-making hierarchy of political parties. In 1999, there were 12 women in the House of Representatives out of the 360 seats, while the Senate had just 3 seats out of 109. 2019 election has so far remained the worst, as women representation is concerned, with the House recording just 11 in its ranks, while the Senate has 3 women senators. With this awareness and consciousness raised today, hopefully the government will pay attention and give women the right place they need in governance. Moyo Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.